It's that time of year. Well, not really. It's the other time of year. Halloween time, spooky time. And like a lot of you guys, I like to cram the month of October filled with a bunch of scary and weird and gross movies and video games. So I thought this was a good opportunity to talk about some of the stuff I love. That's all I'm trying to do here anyway. So this is a weird list. It's not all necessarily Halloween specific games or horror specific games, but games I try to play every October or so when I get the time, just to get in the mood, get in a good spooky fall crisp vibe. You know what I mean? I got some spooky things. I got some gross things. I got some kind of surprising things. The list itself, a lot of these games are games you probably expect if you've been watching me for a while, but I haven't really had an excuse to talk about a lot of these, so this is the perfect time. The first game on my list is Condemned: Criminal Origins. This game is probably not very Halloween-y, but incredibly spooky, and one of the weirder ones on the list. That's why I wanted to start with it. It's a Sega-published game, and it was a launch Xbox 360 game, and it was one of the first games of the launch lineup that really actually felt a little next gen. It was just weird. It was something different. It was something new. Just the way a lot of it goes down, the underlying concept really sticks with me. First, I mean, this game, have you ever seen Seven, David Fincher? This is like the game version of that. And I mean that like the highest compliment. Excellent film. But what they got going on here is really unique, because on the surface, it looks like a first-person melee and first-person shooter style game, but there's this added layer of you investigating and trying to track down a serial killer. So you're investigating these crime scenes, oftentimes very strangely set up, all weird and creepy, with your tools in first person. You know, you're using a blacklight, you're using all your tech, you're using a digital camera. Ooh. And it can be really chilling, especially with just how the atmosphere is done and the music and everything. But the other part of this game that I really like is that a lot of the times you're investigating these murders and crimes in places where you're not welcome. I think this game has one of the greatest openings for a game of that time, where you're in an abandoned building and you know that there are people in there, be it, crazy criminals or like not supernatural, but like the game gives off the vibe, but even though the second game goes more supernatural, but like just kind of like strange homeless people living in these buildings, crime dudes, Max Payne 1 style, like drug addicts, they're all kinds of stuff. And there's this feeling, obviously sometimes they run out at you, but there's certain points in this game where you're walking around and you know that there are people hiding in the darkness watching you, and you're not supposed to be there. I'm kind of whiffing this, but I'm trying to explain, like, the game does an incredible job of feeling like you're in a place and you're not welcome. Like, the game is called Condemned, and a lot of times you go into condemned areas that are hostile, but like you don't know when. It always feels like a powder keg and you don't know when. And it just does a good job of really feeling like there are people there that don't want you. Right at the start, you see a bucket knock over and you see a guy run by in the dark in a hallway, and you hear him yell out, like, "Get out of here." Like, that stuff like really works. It feels really real. It feels almost like if you were to go into an abandoned building and encounter some bad people. I mean, honestly, you'd probably just encounter a bunch of rowdy teens, but in a video game, you encounter badasses who swing metal pipes at you, and you gotta swing a 2x4 at them because wood beats metal. It was gory, it was brutal, it had a lot of cool finishing kills, like you would stun someone and then do like a crazy finisher. It was gross, it was nasty, it was like just perfectly early to mid 2000s in that way. You know what I mean? Another one on my list, both the first game and the second one, Little Nightmares. I really got into Little Nightmares this year, believe it or not. And now I think these are the perfect games to experience this fall because of, yes, you can say like there's slightly Burton-esque style of art, but also just the actual creepiness of it, the tension of it, the atmosphere, the mood. There is a bit of fall to it. It's Little Nightmares 2 opens in a crisp landscape. I think the second one specifically might scratch some of those itches for you guys. But also, like, if you're playing a lot of games and you're watching a lot of movies in October, these are shorter experiences. So it's nice to just kind of get a nice, digestible, weird experience of creepiness. I made another video about it, specifically the second one. I'll link that in the description if you want to check that out, but love those games. The other one is Alan Wake. So Alan Wake Remastered, I'm jumping into that right now. I was worried about the remaster and how much of an overhaul it is, kind of taking away from the original art style and the color palette slightly changing with the remaster and kind of killing some of the vibe and the original experience. So far, that doesn't seem to be the case, and I'm really happy. This game is really good for this time of year because it really nails that feel. It does all this great, like, trippy, weird stuff that we now come to expect with Remedy and all their inspirations, but also does a little like Stephen King stuff. The aspects of you running in the woods at night in the dark are really well done. Even to today, if you go back and replay the older game, the sense of running in the woods at night in the dark with a flashlight can't be beat. Like I'm still really impressed, and I'm working my way through the. So I originally played it on 360. A couple years ago, I played it on PC. Now I'm replaying it on PS5, and it's been enjoyable. That one's a definite, especially like it's the new hotness again because it's re-released. But yeah, it's a good one. Switching gears completely, you know I'm gonna do it. I'm such a bitch. Fable, play it every October. Sometimes it has to push into November, but Fable is like the perfect fall game. A lot of the settings are just so incredibly beautifully designed around this mystical old world fantasy in the fall. Beautiful trees, brown, yellow, orange, red leaves, just like a mystical, whimsical nature to it all. And when it goes spooky and when it goes scary, it's also really, really good. The whole Darkwood thing and the evil church and all those areas are just screaming Halloween imagery with the spooky, gnarled trees. Oh, I love it. You yourself in that game can become an evil ghoul man, which is perfect if you're in the spirit. I've been shouting about the original Fable for years now. You're probably tired of it, but for some people who didn't get access to that, they didn't have a console, they're younger, whoever. Definitely you should. The original version I still like better than the like slight remake of it. That's just me. It's like little tiny things, but either way, whatever you play, you should be good. Also, another one briefly that you may not have heard of, it's called Pumpkin Jack. This one just like screams Halloween. It's like literally made for Halloween. Full disclosure with this one, I haven't finished it. I've only dabbled in it, but so far I'm digging it. Recommended by a friend of the show, Jimmy Champagne. You guys probably know him from other places on YouTube, but it's pretty cool. It's kind of like medieval, like the old medieval game, and like a little bit of Maximo, which I really like, and that's also kind of like a spooky Halloween game. And it's just like it scratches that itch so far, and I'm only in the early hours, and it's pumpkiny, it's spooky, it's Halloween, but like most importantly, it's also fun to play in like more of that classic style. Yes, recommend. Now, if you'll notice for this list, I didn't really go too into like the typical ones you'd expect, like Resident Evil or Silent Hill or anything like that. Silent Hill I actually like to save more for like the winter or just like a rainy night. I don't, like a stormy night. There's something about that doesn't scream always Halloween to me. For Resident Evil though, I will just say honorable mention to both Resident Evil 4, which I will link a video I made about that recently. I talked about this, but the fall setting at the start is perfect. The crisp, dead woods where you start is just top tier fall spooky Halloween experience. So I'll say that game, and also Resident Evil 7, because specifically they give off the haunted house vibe. And by that, I mean, like, have you literally ever gone to like a haunted house in your town? You pay $10 to go through a warehouse with a bunch of plywood and dudes in masks and flashing lights. I love that experience. These games kind of replicate that experience. Resident Evil 4, think about it. All these spooky guys chasing you. You're in the woods. Then all of a sudden a chainsaw man comes out and a squid monster. It's insane. Resident Evil 7, there's a big mean dad who flips a table at you. He chases you with a chainsaw. He kills a cop. By the end, you're fighting a big tentacle monster. Like, it's just all chaos all the time. And I think that those nail that feel. That feel of paying $20, waiting on a line with apple cider in the freezing cold, hoping to get into the haunted spook house, I might be speaking specifically to East Coast people with that, but hopefully you get what I mean. This one's me being a little bit more of like a basic bitch, and sometimes I play this one in the winter. Until Dawn. Until Dawn scratches the other side where there's not a lot of games that really do this, the slasher vibe, the horror movie slasher aspect. Until Dawn nails it so well. I don't think they've really topped this, the developers, to be completely honest. Is it hokey? Yes. Is it corny? Yes. But is it like exactly what you might be looking for if you like these types of movies? Yes. So I either try and play it around this time, or if I miss it and I don't play it in October, I wait until November, December, January when we get a winter storm and we're snowed in, and I play that because it takes place during a blizzard. So there you have it. Another one similar to Little Nightmares, if you like that type of thing, Inside. I replay Inside almost every year. It is a great, brief experience. It is a Halloween-y, spooky kind of fall experience without actually going full Halloween. There's a little bit more of a sci-fi aspect to it, but it is just the right amount of like dreary, spooky, gray vibe that I love. I think even more than Little Nightmares, Inside is paced so well. From beginning to end, it's almost designed for you to play in one sitting. A long sitting, but like, you know, play in one sitting because it never really repeats anything. It's always interesting and you're always moving forward in an interesting way. You know, I think it's like a masterclass on video game pacing. Also, because the ending is just like gross out, good, like Cronenberg type like horror stuff. Like if you like those gross out movies, they give you that. For sure. With this one, I want to get weird for a second. I love vampires. You guys probably know I've talked on record a lot about vampire games. I'm guilty of not including enough on this list. Vampire or vampire, however you say it, does give some good spooky aesthetics. But for today, I wanted to talk about something weird and different, and I try and play it every other or every couple of Halloweens. Blood Omen 2. Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 2. Arguably, definitely not the best Legacy of Kain game. The original Blood Omen, if you just want like a real good video game experience overall, I think it's better. But Blood Omen 2 really nails this like weird, spooky, horror, gothic aesthetic. Almost like if you're into Bloodborne, if you like Yharnam, you might like the setting, the vibe, the atmosphere of Blood Omen 2. It's starting to get dated. It's a little rough, but it is really cool playing as this badass vampire. You drink dudes' blood, like you grab them and you like suck their blood, you slaughter innocent people, you turn into literal mist, like you become like a haunted ghoul of the mist. I just love shit like that. It's perfect, it's weird. Again, it hasn't aged well, but if you have the tolerance for older style games, definitely play something like this. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the very good Blade 2 video game. There's a lot of good vampire stuff out there, but today I just wanted to highlight and give props to Kain himself. The way this goes though, I can honestly do this video every single year and have a completely different list because it always changes up. There's some staples that I always try and stick to, and then some I alternate year over year. So the magic with that is I want to hear from you guys what games you like to play this time of year. My list is all over the place, so I definitely want to hear yours. Any spooky time, Halloween, ghoul, specter, macabre, anything you got, anything you like to play in October or this time of year, hit me. I want to hear from you. Keep your eyes peeled. At some point in October, I'm probably going to talk about more stuff like this, maybe a movie or so. I want to put out a video on Alan Wake specifically. So if you're new here, subscribe. Click the like button. Helps me out. I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love here. Also, shout out to Patreon and YouTube Join membership people. Very much thank you for having my back. But I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.